Hi, this is Jenny.
Hi, it's Terza.
And today we're talking about taking a chance.
Hmm.
And so many times I hear people, and I think you see this all the time too, is that people come with these amazing stories of, I have this idea and it keeps swimming around in my head. I need to do something with this. But then they start talking about that swimming along with those ideas are all the excuses of why they can't do something about it. And we were talking earlier about that right now it feels like in our country that is pure chaos.
Right.
And then we the excuses start to multiply as this is the worst time to
Yes.
take a chance.
Right.
And yet I really feel that when there is chaos, what if that is the exact right time? Is that we are feeling kind of this breakdown right now. And what if now is the time to have this amazing breakthrough? And if we're brave enough to step out there, who else will follow us? And so that this can multiply or be contagious.
Right. I tend to think of it as so all the ideas are swimming, and then there's like the boat's kind of in a little bit choppy water. You've got like 2-foot waves. They're not bad, but I can kind of get over them. And it's not enough to make me stop thinking about the idea. Right. It's not enough for me to kind of not play around with hopping in that boat. But then chaos comes, and it's the storm, and it swirls everything up. And now those waves are 4, 5, 6 feet high. And I think, oh no, like you said, no way, worst time, gotta hunker down, batten down the hatches, and just hang on exactly where I am. But one of the things that's crazy about our country is that we really applaud people who find it in themselves to take that chance when it seems like now is not the right time.
That it's impossible.
Right.
And yet it is what has made our nation this amazing, resilient creature that we all feed off of, is that resiliency, that creativity, that ability to imagine something greater and step into it is the gift that we have been given. And if we don't take that chance, the other piece of it is that we will feed into the chaos that's ensuing that is so easy to be sucked into.
Right. That we collapse ourselves then back into that, and then we just become feeders both of it and on it.
Oh yeah. I see that all the time.
Yeah, and one of the things too with that is that when we do that flip, when we don't realize that there is a choice, there is this option to lean into the chance, and we just simply fall back, we act like that's a neutral zone, and it's not. It actually affects us and our ability the next time things come around. There's a lot of times you'll have that experience of the storm is past, things are okay, and then people are still frozen in place. They still now, the sea is back to those, maybe it's just a little ripple, but I can't move.
You know what I was thinking of when you were saying that is not that is true. Personally, like our human behavior is that we tend to get comfortable in that safety space. This is how I was allowed to maneuver through this. But I thought of the airlines and how after 9/11, how they were able to make money back. And then it wasn't even, maybe it wasn't 9/11 exactly, but then the gas prices went up and all these things. So then they started charging for extra luggage. They started charging for extra food and snacks and like all these. And they said every time there was an additional charge that it was temporary.
Right.
And I was like, well, none of that has gone away.
Right.
And the same is true for us, is that we get into these spaces that we think it's going to be temporary that I stay here, that I'll go back to my dreaming. I'll go back to the consideration of taking the chance. And then when things get chaotic, I'll just halt it for that moment. But surely I'll revisit it.
Oh,
and then we put it on a shelf and we forget about it. And then we engage in status quo.
Right. And sometimes even because we've engaged in status quo, we begin to justify it. Like, well, this is just how it is. This is how it has to be. Everybody's running this race. But way back there on like the bookshelf of your mind, there was a chance that you wanted to take. And the key thing is that it's still there. It's even if you didn't take it. And it might even show itself in other ways later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so today is really about looking at where do you have an opportunity right now when things feel chaotic to really step in and take a chance, and looking at what is your natural response when not only when a chance presents itself, but then when the waves become 5 or 6 feet high,
Yeah.
and you really have convinced yourself, well, this is the worst time that I could do it. And I see it even in myself as that you and I have played with this idea of doing courses online, yet I resist and resist because I know that there's this other piece that as humans, we are missing the human connection more than ever. And what I love about our coursework and the courses that we have is that we bring people together.
Right.
We bring them here so that they can be with each other and learn in that space, connecting in human form. And so I've resisted the idea of putting things online, and now that things have changed and we are getting these messages that people don't want to gather in spaces, that they want to have places that they are safe from each other, which is really sad right now. But what if this is the perfect time to rethink some of my conclusions or assumptions, that it may open up an even bigger idea that I never even thought of, because I take the chance of I can create still for the human experience, but I can also, how can I translate that to a virtual experience and actually learn from it rather than resist it?
Yeah. Especially if the chaos is giving you the gift of people feeling more able to accept coming together in that kind of facilitated electronic way.
Right.
Yeah. For me, I think of my patterns when the storm rises up, and this is something, so you tend to resist and kind of dig in your heels and get stuck. I fall backwards on old patterns that haven't served me well. So as a mom, looking at when things get hectic in my life, I fall back into this role of like, I will be now the consummate mother, right? I will do all the things and nobody will ever complain because I know I can rock this house, right? The problem with that is I do it to the detriment of my personal well-being. So yeah, I'm up at 3:30 in the morning. What am I doing? Making sure that all the things are done. The laundry will be clean. The children will be fine if like every shirt is not washed. But it brings me kind of like this level of comfort because it's like, I can control this. I don't have to approach all of the chances that are waiting for me or all of the chaos that's waiting for me. I can fall back into this and I can control this. The reality is eventually I will burn out from that and then nobody is served.
Well, and I think that that's part of the whole idea of even taking a chance, is that when we do take chances, it refuels us. And yet what we hyper focus on is all the things that might go wrong that would deplete us, but we become stronger, smarter, more creative every single time we take a step forward into that unknown space. And so you're like diverting all your energy to something when you actually probably would have more energy if you took some of the chances to be this amazing mom that you're trying to cover things and do everything, and while you're ignoring the chance. And I think it goes to this whole point of that chances show up to bring us to a bigger story for self, and that they belong to us. They're there because they're ours, and they're saying, hey, if you follow me, even if you think that this doesn't make sense, I will bring you to a bigger knowing of self. I will start to show you how creative, resourceful, everything that you may be doubting right now that is inside of you, that is waiting to be sourced. But you have to take the chance on me. And so many times we kind of like the book, What Do You Do with an Idea? We, in that book, we pretend, or the main character, I guess I'm not in the book, but the main character in the book pretends that I don't notice this idea. This doesn't belong to me. And the same is true for chances, is that they're saying, I belong to you. And if you don't pay attention to me, I'll linger. I'll linger, maybe not in the forefront, but I'll always be there. And sometimes if you do not do something with me, I'll be so powerful in my lingering that I'll cause you to not notice other chances, that you will start to not see anything because of your regret, or what else would you call it, that could cause you to be blind to something else that's
right. I think sometimes it's regret, and other times it's just I don't know what to call it. It's more like I'm being held back, and I don't know by what. So if people come to you and they say, well, I'm being held back, but it's not by my job, it's not by my family, something else is holding me back. And I think that sometimes it is that thing that's lingering, that chance that's lingering that you didn't take. And so you're thinking that you should go in a whole new different direction, right? You're thinking, well, I've been a lawyer all my life, and I'm gonna parlay that, because a lot of times we like to be strategic. I'm gonna parlay that now into consulting. And everything in you is just like, remember when we loved to scuba dive? Remember that? Like, could we do that? And so you can't figure out why consulting hasn't fulfilled your dreams and hasn't given you a rich, warm, fuzzy, soul purpose feeling. And it's because there's that other thing that's in the back. That's the thing that really wants to be expressed, and it's wanted to be expressed for a long time. We put it at bay, and we put it at bay, and we put it at bay, saying, one day we'll get to you. In retirement, I'll get to you. When the kids are gone, I'll get to you. When I have enough money, I'll get to you. And it's saying, you just got to take a chance with me. I promise you, we'll do great things together.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So there was this gal that reached out to me years ago, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I want to take these coaching classes. They sound amazing, life transforming. I know I need this." And so she kept calling me up. We kept going to coffee. I think I went to coffee with her 5 different times.
Okay.
And eventually I said, "What are you doing? What's stopping you from just stepping in and trusting that this will work for you?" And she said, "Well, I'm busy being a parent, and in 10 years my kids will be out of the house, and so I'm wondering, will you still be around?" And I tried not to be offended by that. And I said, "Yes. Will you still be interested?" And she never, I've ran into her a couple of times, but she's never, and her kids are long gone now, never revisited the chance. And I think that happens, is that we forget about them. We push them aside, like you said. We try to parlay them. I like your word. But then what happens to them? And what if they really are there to bring us to something else?
And one of the things before we moved on from this point that I want to address is that I know that I've got some concrete analytics types out there who are going to be like, this is really getting into that space of like, really, my chance is out there, it's waiting for me. So
it belongs to you.
It belongs to me.
This is so woo-woo.
Right. But honestly, if it's at the end of this video or audio, if you're listening to it, or even if you pause it right now and just sit and think about those things that kind of keep popping up in random ways in your life? I've got one. For whatever reason, every once in a while, I just want to be a jazz singer.
And I want you to be. Can you be a funny one? That would be awesome.
I think I could be a really funny one. Yes. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, it keeps popping up, and every once in a while I'll for no good reason, I'll just look for like jazz groups or music lessons or something where I can do like a summer intensive. I don't even think I have to be a jazz singer for like my life. I just want to experience the experience, right? That's a chance that just lingered because when I was younger, nobody told me that like, hey, you've got a nice voice. You could do something with that. And I just assumed like, yeah, I can sing in church. I never thought like I could do something with it or be anything with it. And now I don't have to have the full expression of it, but that still lingers. So I challenge you to just think about it, and there'll be that thing that pops up.
Oh yeah, and I think that what we do to ourselves is if it doesn't make sense or if it doesn't bring me to something that I can justify to the world,
right?
That's a ridiculous chance. I'm just daydreaming. I shouldn't go there, and yet there's a reason why it has presented itself. You don't need to understand the reason. It's kind of like intuition versus fear. Is intuition does not care if it makes sense. And fear will scream loudly and it will try to make perfect sense. And the same is true with chances, is that they present not caring at all.
No.
And it may take a while for you to figure out what this is here to do, but at the same time, it can light you up too. Mm-hmm. Is that it might be there just as a respite, just as a place to relieve or refuel something that you just are missing in your life. Which I think goes to the next point, is that when we take chances, we learn how resilient and resourceful we can be. Is that it causes us to step into this place that is so unfamiliar to us. Sometimes it's not grossly unfamiliar. Sometimes it's beyond what we could even imagine. And in that, all the puzzle pieces are in the middle. There's no edges.
Right.
And we're trying to figure out, how does this go together?
Mm-hmm.
But we become very clever
yes.
in solving things. And that's where our resilience starts to build, is that, oh, that didn't go that way. We'll just break off this piece of the puzzle piece, and then it does work. I think about, even for you, Terza, when have you taken a chance that you didn't know that you could be that resourceful?
Right. So I did some summer work in a children's program called Freedom Schools. And my friend and I, we had no clue. We were assigned to Kansas City, and she's from Nebraska, and I'm from Minnesota. Midwest in the house. But we had no idea what we were getting into. And we got there, and they were just like, oh, yes, all of our Kansas City Freedom Schools have to have 300 scholars, and you're half full. And if you want to run, then after our like little time of training, you need to have all of these students. And it was the craziest summer. We lived off of like really bad food, and we were always up till like midnight. And you normally, like, even we had all these interns, and I would literally walk the streets of Wyandotte County and like pull kids off of roofs because their parents were like, you're not in school, work for me, work with me over the summer. And these are like elementary school kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and parents trying to make it work however they can. But I would, we collected all of these children, and we thought, okay, we only get paid $3,000 for a Freedom Summer, and we're running out of supplies. And we would create things, make things. I remember being in a classroom with 11-year-olds, and I was like, okay, great, it's a detective story. They're going to be so interested. And they were like, but these are kids who were like from the city. So I'm like, we're going to read a story about a detective, and we're going to make badges. And they're like, Miss Terza, why am I going to make a badge, Miss Terza? What a badge going to do for me? And I was like, that is a good question. We're going to make business cards. oh yes, now that I can use. And I was like, yay. But it was like that, like every moment I took this assignment because I thought, well, I'm going to do something with young people. I didn't have anywhere to go. I was kicking around after school, after college, and said, I'll do something over the summer. And every single day was a moment of just like pulling it out of yourself. Like, what creative thing can I do to keep these kids engaged for the summer? And I did it for 2 summers as an intern coordinator. My friend did it for 3. And she goes down there more often than I do. And she will tell me over the phone, like, she's like, I just saw so-and-so. They're 22. And like, they had the greatest Freedom Summer, and they remember Freedom Summer, and they tell us about it. And they'll remember specific stories about it. And I'm just like, wow, like, to me, it gives me this little ping in my brain of, now that I'm trying to do things through coaching, like, you can have an impact in the world. Remember Freedom Summer? Right? And if I had not just taken the chance to say, I have no idea how this works, I have no idea if I can do it, I might do it terribly, but I'm going to go, and every day I'm just going to show up and try to like dance with it, I wouldn't have this. But it's one of my stories that I reach back to when I am now trying to do something with like coaching and all of my like race and reconciliation work and all of that stuff. I reach back to that to remind me, like, nope, you can do something that has an impact that lasts long enough that a 20-something-year-old kid's going to come to your friend and say, I remember this, and it changed me.
Right. I love that. And the last piece of this is that taking a chance can reveal things that you don't even know are there to be revealed, and that it can get you to a place of new methods, new ideas, new pathways that were not even on your radar until you took that first step into that. And we have to have just this faith that I don't know what I'm saying yes to, but I'm going.
Right.
And it is that place of, if I step, who else will step? And I think about even when I was offered the opportunity to coach at the University of Minnesota, and several people sat me down and said, you can't do this. Do you not understand that they're all from other countries? You've never left the country. What could you possibly provide them? And I'm like, my ignorance. like I'm pleasantly ignorant, and I'll start with that. And so I told all of my students that I know nothing. I know nothing about your country, your customs. I will probably insult the crap out of you, but I sure hope you show up every day. And it was the most amazing journey collectively that we all took a chance, because they didn't know what they were saying yes to. And they were from all walks of life, and yet they never missed a session, because it was about not only taking a chance of this group together, but they didn't know what coaching was. And to sit in vulnerability with what I was told, some of these countries are sworn enemies. Some of these countries don't see women and men as equal. This will never work in this environment. But they all sat there, and they were so supportive of each other. And it brought me to this new awareness as I work in these other environments, that if I come with no assumptions and just really trust that collectively the group will move together, if I lay that out first and keep revisiting it, but I wouldn't even have that confidence in what coaching can do, or be able to step into other really challenging situations with an awareness or that ability to be brave enough to be like, I think this can work here, if I wouldn't have taken that chance. And so many people told me, don't do it, you were going to fail. So.
It's interesting. I think that taking those chances, it gives us not only the gift of the experience of walking through the chance, but that gift of resilience. And we both had examples that worked really well. Because this is a trade union, we're not going to tell you what went badly.
Oh, but sometimes we do.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
even in that, there's opportunity to learn and to understand, and you still build a resilience because then you know that even if it doesn't work out the way I anticipated, I got through it.
Mhm.
I got through it. I'm here. I'm on the other side, and so I'm stronger for it. And so, I just think that the lessons from taking a chance, even when or especially when uh, life or things come up and say, no, that's the worst thing to do right now, hunker down. Um, it's just incredibly valuable. And it's a gift that we give not only ourselves, but if you're a coach, it's a very precious gift that we are able to walk through with for our clients, for them to realize and receive.
Yeah. Um, but it goes to this, can we practice this all the time? Even the small chances, the ones that we think are irrelevant or won't matter, that they presented themselves for a reason. And if it tugs at you, it probably is meant to be explored. And it may not look the way that it originally tugged at you, but can you just say yes, even just a little?
Mm-hmm.
So, but we want to end with having you consider, um, if you don't take the chances that are nudging at you right now, that really are lingering or swimming in your head, that are also probably swimming with all your excuses, because they go hand in hand.
Yes.
Nice.
They swim together.
Yes, they are. They try to be your life jacket, which is not what they're really doing. But what will happen? What will you not get to experience? What will others not get to experience if you don't take the chances that are knocking at your door?
And as always, we encourage that if you have any just breakthrough moments where you're just like, oh man, this was crazy, but this is a thought that needs to be in the world, we are always available at the Learning Journeys Facebook for you to post there and share with us what your ahas were. And we also encourage you to check out any of the opportunities that we have at learningjourneys.net.
Thanks.